Howdy y'all, we got another subscriber request video. It's going to be exciting. We got a lot of material to go over, so let's get right to it. Alrighty, so I've been messaging back and forth in the comment section with one of the subscribers, Eddie Lorenzo 7492, and just been going over different things. We're going to break down his comments, and we're going to break down different ideas, suggestions, but it'd also be wonderful if some of you other welders want to chime in the comment section, say things that y'all do or things that your buddies do or ideas that y'all have that might be helpful. We're trying to make this very interactive comment section and very helpful to any new welders with different ideas, suggestions, anything of that sort. So breaking down the comments, he got into welding last year and got his certs. He's just been bombarded with options such as structural, unions, going solo. It is a lot to overthink. It truly is. I remember being in that spot myself, and everyone's saying, do this, do that. You have to do this, you have to do that. You don't have to do what anyone tells you. You got to do what makes you happy. That's first and foremost my suggestion to anyone getting into any of the trades. Welding, there's so many different options. You got to do what makes you happy. Otherwise, there's no point in doing any of this. Sure, some things make more money than others, but you got to do what makes you happy. He says he is certified TIG, MIG, and construction. He went to a community college, studied welding, cutting, blueprints, fabrication stuff. A year of field experience, 6 months for school, did 6 months of production small welds in a warehouse, and currently building bucket trucks from scratch to finish. Is definitely willing to continue learning, trying new routes, enjoys welding huge stuff as well as TIG aluminum and TIG stainless. Doesn't know if he should just look for another job with TIG or join union with sheet metal or something, or just stay where he's at until something else pops up. There's a lot of different options to go with what you enjoy there, Lorenzo, and what you're skilled to do. Again, first and foremost, what I'd recommend to any welder is what route would make you happy. Or if you don't know, try different things and see what makes you happy. Granted, if you've never been in a certain job, you don't know if it makes you happy until you actually do it. That's first and foremost. You can make money more with this job or more with that job, but if it doesn't make you happy, personally, I don't see the point in it. If you're miserable, there's no point in making X amount more. You can be making $80,000 with really good benefits, which might cost another $50,000-$60,000 depending on where you're at, and you could be very happy at that one spot, or you could be traveling the world making $300,000, but then a lot of it has to go to benefits and cost. So it just depends on what makes you happy. Do you enjoy the traveling? Do you enjoy being stationary? It's what makes you happy. Personal preference, I would say that it would be good for a lot of welders to get their structural steel, stick, and wire. Personal preference, because then you can be anywhere in the country. If you're certified and licensed in that, you can be anywhere putting up any steel building. It can be as an ironworker or just as a welder. You can have your own rig. You don't have to have your own rig. You can be in residential, commercial, industrial. It can be in just maintenance crews. It can be very helpful in that. Sometimes that's a requirement, especially here in Los Angeles. If you're part of a maintenance crew of a large plant or any big warehouse, anything like that, they may have the requirement to be structurally certified and licensed for both stick and wire. Other states, they don't have requirements like that at all. You just know how to weld because they don't have some of the structural, whatever you want to call it, codes. I think there's another word for codes in some states that they do have, but it's not necessarily a code. It's more of suggestions. If you want to use a Pirates of the Caribbean reference, you can go for that. It's just a suggestion. Unions. It depends on what union. What do you want to be doing? There's, such as here in Los Angeles, there's the Ironworkers Union, there's the Rod Busters Union, you have the Sheet Metal Union. There's also a steel union, which is very small and it's more down at the port. So it depends on what union, what their training will be. If you have certs already, are they going to bump you up several pay grades? Are you going to be starting out as a low-level apprentice, or are you going to be starting halfway through because you already have training, you already have skills, you already have certs? It depends on what the union will be applying your skills to, whether they need those skills or not. And some unions, they need welders, but they're not necessarily a welding union. You can have, what is it, the elevators union, they need welders. What's the other one? Tip of my tongue, can't remember at the second, but there's other unions that use welders, that build bridges, should know the name of it, but a lot of unions, they need welders, but it's not their primary focus. It's just carpenters, that's what it is. They use welders all the times in their buildings, but they're not primarily a welding or ironworking union, but they still need them. So going solo, another thing in the comments. It's not as easy as it sounds. Myself right now, I am solo. I don't have a welding rig. I just have contacts from welding school that I went to, from when I was working in the union, to when I was just getting to know people outside of work entirely. I know contractors that I became buddies with by working with horses and all, as odd as that may sound, and I've done consulting, welding, and all kinds of stuff for them. So it would help if you have contacts, because starting up by yourself, I don't know the ins and outs of that completely, because I already had contacts, that people that needed welders, and they knew me and how I operate, and they just hired me by doing that. Again, they have welding equipment, or I bring tools, and depends if they need a welding machine, they already have a welding machine. Lots of ins and outs of that. You'd have to decide that on your own. For any other welder, it's the same thing. Do you have contacts that people want to hire you? Do you have the skill set needed in your area? Do you have structural that is needed? If you're mainly an area that doesn't have big high rises, do you really need structural certs? It just depends on what's in your area. So already knowing cutting, blueprints, fabrication, all that's a big plus. That is huge. Some welding schools, they teach you how to weld and that's it. They don't teach you anything about codes, what you need to know to pass your licensing test. You may be certified to weld, but you don't know anything about welding that's on paper. You just know how to actually weld. And so knowing how to do the cutting, blueprints, fabrication, all that, that's really good. That's a big plus, I would say. That's a major factor in knowing how to weld. It's not just actually the weld itself. So enjoying stainless and aluminum, especially TIG. One thing I would suggest in that field is there's a lot of food processing plants all across the United States, all over. It doesn't matter what state you're in, there's going to be food processing places. They need MIG and TIG welders because a lot of stuff in there is either stainless or it's aluminum. You need food grade stainless or aluminum. So that's a big plus. A lot of structural welders, they can't do that. So if you're just certified in stick and wire, they can't do that. They need someone that can actually weld the pipes for things to be processed through, different machinery, because you can't just be stick welding aluminum. You need your TIG, and if you know how to MIG it, still a version of TIG for that kind of welding. It's kind of half and half. Still TIG, but you use a MIG gun on it. You need to know how aluminum welds, how it operates, being able to make sure it's clean. It's not just the welding, you gotta make sure it's clean for all the food, all that good stuff. So I'd say that's a big plus. To be able to go into those kinds of facilities, be able to weld their stuff up, and kind of be part of a maintenance crew also in that aspect. If you're good mechanically, that would be a big plus in that department. Because if you can fix machines and weld them, that's pretty golden in my opinion. Again, I'm not in that industry per se, but I know other people that got in there and they really enjoy it. Some of them are more welders, some of them more mechanical side of it, some do both. And I'd say the more you know, the better off you are, the more you're worth than the next guy in line. I'd say just focus on what you're wanting to do, and if you need to branch off a little bit, go for it. It makes you more valuable. Or stuff you already know other than school, it makes you more valuable. Woodworking also in that makes you more valuable. So also in the TIG aspect, there's aerospace certs, especially here in Los Angeles, a lot of aerospace defense contractor companies. You can go Honeywell, you can do SpaceX, Boeing, Lockheed Martin. We have JPL here. A lot of stuff that needs to be welded that's aerospace grade. It's not just weld this piece of aluminum to that piece of aluminum. You need to be certified for this stuff. It's not just basic stainless steel. You have all kinds of rare metals, different thicknesses, very thin metal, very specific specifications that they need to be welded to, all kinds of interesting stuff. And it takes a while to learn that. If you can do that, that's really good. They make good money. And sheet metal. Sheet metal is not the easiest, especially if you're working with really thin stuff. You got to control your heat. So if you enjoy sheet metal, I'd say that's a good plus. Not everyone can do that. But again, all this is what makes you happy. And same thing with any other welder, it's what makes you happy out there. All this stuff is very good to know how to do. Bucket trucks, they need to be worked on all the time. Maintenance, you can be an independent welder working on bucket trucks. You can go out to the field. Caterpillar has a bunch of trucks out here. They repair engines, they repair the scoops, all kinds of things on the equipment out here in Los Angeles. Don't know if they have that all across the country. They even have the tow trucks for big rigs. They got some welding machines on some of those. Got to do out in the middle of nowhere repairs so they can tow it off somewhere. Same thing with trailers. There's so many routes. I would recommend researching what kind of businesses are in the area for you and for any other welders out there. Research what's in your area. See what there is and what there isn't. What is there demand for? What is there a lot in the area? And then if there's no one else to fix it, well, then that's maybe a good route to go. I'm not going to tell anyone what route to go because I'm not in your shoes, whether it be anyone in the comment section. I always say it's all up to you. It's what makes you happy. It's what in your area. My area could be completely different than your area. I'm in Los Angeles. You might be in a town of 100 people. I don't know what the situation is or the different regions, different codes, different industries. So it's all up to what the welder wants, what they enjoy. And if any of the other welders out there kind of want a video about this for their situation, I'm more than happy to do that. And y'all can kind of see what's out there from one person coming into a field to the next person. It might give you extra ideas. It might be beneficial to the next 100 welders in line. It might be beneficial to one other person. It can really help them out. So if y'all want to do that in the comment section, I'm more than happy to do videos on it. And if you want more in-depth on a certain area, I can try my best to either research it or tell you what I know from experience, because there's so many different fields in the welding industry. It's not just cut and dry this or that, here or there. There's so many different things, from underwater to welding hundreds and hundreds of feet above ground level, from welding in the mud to being super clean aerospace. You have pipe, you have just basic structural, you have maintenance here or there, whether it's TIG, MIG, stick, flux, even oxy-fuel welding, which I'm not very good at. I've only done a little. That can be used in local gas companies. Here in my area, the local gas companies, they require that. That's not something I know how to do. If someone else knows how to do it, they'd be a step above me. So it just depends on what's in your area, what different companies require. Also, such as my area, Caltrans, they have welders. Government companies or government agencies, whatever you want to call them, that go around, they have really good benefits. The school districts around here, some school districts are smaller. They don't need as many welders. Los Angeles County School District, they need more welders. They weld stuff all the time at the schools around here. Then you have the local unions that also do welding at schools. It just depends on what the projects are. So if it's going from a handrail that's just one handrail, or you're putting in handrails everywhere in the school, it could be a union job and not the school district welding it in there. So it depends on what makes you happy, pay you want, whether you want benefits in there. Benefits could be a huge factor. As an example, the currently working on bucket trucks. If that's a company that pays benefits, that might be better than being independent welding the bucket trucks in the field, because you already have benefits. I'm not saying it is better, but it could be better if you have 401k, health, dental, vision, all that good stuff. retirement setup. If you go solo, you got to do all that yourself. And it could be easier if you do it by yourself. It could be harder. It depends on your area, what you want for retirement, anything you're planning, whether you got a family to take care of, whether you're just single and you're ready to travel the States as a anything welder, pipe welder, underwater welder, structural welder, anything and everything. It all depends on what your situation is, but I'm more than happy to throw out all kinds of ideas, suggestions, and different things to consider. A lot of folks don't think about the benefits. Everyone wants to go to school, become a pipeline welder. And if they're not part of, I think it's 806 out of Oklahoma City, if they're just independent and they don't plan for retirement, they can make a fortune. They spend all their money. By the time they're ready to retire, they have no money. It's a thing to consider for any part of welding is benefits, whether you do it, company, union, government, how are you going to retire? I'd say that's a big factor in any decision for whichever direction you want to go is the benefits. One thing I would like to add that Lorenzo put in here is that he said, I'm very willing to continue learning and trying new routes. So I'd say this is very important for a lot of welders is that you want to be willing to learn new things. If you have a company that's either downsizing one department and moving things to another and you don't have that skill set, but they want to keep you, if you're willing to learn, they already have you trained on some things, they can train you on others, or they can give you money to go to a certain college class that will fulfill that requirement for that extra position. Or if you're just in one area and something needs to be different, you can learn new things. If you're stuck in just one route, that could be a very bad hindrance. It could be a severe handicap. So willing to learn new things, I would say, is essential, and that's a very good trait to have. So in any portion of welding, just say you're an aerospace example. What if the part that you're working on is part of an old jet and the new jet needs some of this new material to be worked on? It's a metal you've never worked with. If you're not willing to do that, you're going to get fired because they don't need you anymore. If you're willing to learn this new metal or this new technique on how to weld this new part, well, there you go. You should be good. The companies want to keep you because they already know you, they know you work good, and you now know this new skill. It can be the same with anything. If you know how to do this side of structural, but you don't know how to do something else, and you work on it, you practice it, you get certified, you now have another skill set. It makes you more valuable than the next person in line. Learning new stuff, hopefully it's fun for you, for any of the welders out there, whatever you're trying to get doing in the field, that it's fun. Some of the things can be a pain, I get that. Machining could be something that would be helpful. Anything mechanical, if you don't know it, but it's required, or a new position's opening up and you want it and you're willing to learn, I'd say that's a very good trait to have. A lot of folks don't have that, and when folks get into the welding schools, they just want to learn welding, they think that's it. That's not everything that's entailed in all these jobs. Learning new skills is something that could be a constant. For some welders, might not have to at all. You just do structural and you're fine for the rest of your career. Others, you could be happier moving from welding to welding with machining, welding and fabrication more, welding this, welding and that. It's not just cut and dry welding. So being able to learn new things and enjoying it, I'd say that's an essential characteristic that would be very beneficial. And I'd say props to you for having that. And it could happen now, having to learn something new. It could happen 10 years from now, learning something new. And I think that's very good to have. I would like to make that note for any of the welders out there that you should be willing to learn new things. I've had to do it, and there's nothing wrong with that. It's not just cut and dry. You learn in welding school, and that's it. There's always new things to learn, new techniques. Something may be better, or you learn that your technique may be better, but it's slower. If you need to do more production, it's not as precise. You do something else and faster. The more tools you have in your toolbox of skills, the better off it is, the more knowledge. Or you can learn something's not as good. You learn something instead of just being stuck in a little rut that your way is the only way. There's multiple routes to do on any version of welding, any process, any industry, any part of the trade. So I'd say that's very good, and I want to make that extra clear that learning new things and wanting to do that, having the ability to do that is very good. So I wanted to add that in there. So I hope this is helpful. Eddie Lorenzo, 7492. If you have any more questions, I'm more than happy to answer them in a video, in the comments. Same with any of y'all out there that would like any ideas, suggestions, more than happy to do that. Any of y'all viewing this that want to type in your ideas, suggestions in the comments, I'm more than happy to have y'all in there. Trying to keep this interactive in the comments, have a little bit of community of welders helping each other out. So if someone has an idea that I haven't thought of or forgot to put in a video, go ahead and put it in the comments. I'm excited to see what y'all have out there. So stay tuned. We'll have more videos similar to this coming out soon, and hope y'all enjoy it. Don't forget to hit the like button, the share, the subscribe, hit that notification bell, and let me know what y'all think. Looking forward to seeing your comments. See y'all in the next one.